Today on Geek Devotions, we're talking about Space Jam and Space Jam 2 and why changing techniques to accomplish the same goal may not be a bad idea, even if the movies aren't the greatest. Hello, Devoted Geeks. Welcome to Geek Devotions, a show from Devoted Geeks who are devoted to letting you know that you are loved. I'm Dallas. I'm so glad you hit the play button today. If you're new to Geek Devotions, we take geek pop culture items like movies, video games, and comic books, and we use them to let people know that they're loved. So, if you don't watch past this moment right here, right now, know this. We love you. Care about you. There is a plan and a purpose for your life. If you haven't left, I want to encourage you to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button if you want content like this on a regular basis. As I said in my intro, we're going to be talking about Space Jam and Space Jam 2. And specifically, while we can talk about the movie themes and stuff like that, like we normally do, I want to go in more of a technical route of how this film was made in contrast to how Space Jam, the original, was made. Regardless on how you feel about the films, they both had a singular purpose in mind. Take existing properties that people have nostalgic feelings for and use them to tell a story that made people smile, that people could laugh at and enjoy. Now again, I know some of you who are movie critics, you may not have a lot of love for Space Jam 2. Some of you may not have love for Space Jam number 1. That being said, like I said, they had the same purpose, but their techniques and way of going about it are a bit different. And I want to talk about that just for a brief moment. See, in Space Jam 1, it was mostly dealt with a green screen situation. Michael Jordan was on a green soundstage, if you will, the green basketball court. He had people dressed up in green suits so he could actually play basketball against something. And then animators then came back behind him and they animated all the characters in. And it's really actually a very interesting situation how they did it. I'll try to put a link in the description down below for a YouTube video that actually walks you through some of the process of creating it, where they had layers of animation on top of each other to give these 2D characters a 3D-ish feel. However, the techniques used in Space Jam 2 were a little bit different. You see, in Space Jam 2, they moved into a different direction. You had moments where you had 2D characters existing in real life, and then you had moments where real life existed with 2D characters, and then you had moments where you had real life characters existing with 3D animated characters. And this was a whole nother process. It was no longer just a green screen room and people in green suits. Now you had motion tracking, now you had 3D animation, now you had 2D animation. You had a lot working here. There's even a point in time where LeBron was actually having to communicate with basically cardboard cutouts just so he knew where things were. Again, a completely and utterly different process than what took place in the first one. But it had the same goal. And like it or not, it was successful. The numbers play out, and I admit it was fun sitting back and watching Space Jam 2 and naming out all the different intellectual properties that were in the film. It gave me a lot of Ready Player One vibes, just not as grand of a scale. It's this changing of techniques that I really want to focus on. Like it or not, in the world, we have individuals who they struggle with the concept of change. I know myself as a person who has dealt with some ADHD issues and stuff like that, change isn't always the best thing for me. I struggle with quick changes, especially if it seems like it's senseless. However, sometimes making changes is what needs to happen, and that's not a bad thing. As Christians, we're called to present the gospel and let people know that they're loved, that they're cared for, that there's hope, that Jesus provides salvation for them. Now, the question becomes, how do we deliver this truth? How do we present the message of Jesus Christ? You have some people who, they're very much in an old school mindset and they feel like it needs to be one way. But that's not the case. It doesn't always have to be one particular way. Do we compromise the truth? No, not at all. But you don't have to do it one way every single time. To illustrate this, I want to you guys to the book of Genesis with Moses. See, Moses is leading the people of Israel through the desert, and it comes to a point where they need some water. So Moses takes a rod, and he smacks a rock, and water comes out. Boom, people are provided for. There is a goal that was needed, and this was the method. Later in life, another similar situation comes up. They need water. Only this time, Moses is being asked to change his methodology. He's told not to smack the rock, but yet to speak to it. In frustration, though, he goes ahead and he hits the rock. Now, the Lord provided, people were provided for with the water. But as a result, Moses was doomed to walk the desert. and never see the fulfillment of what God had for him. There's a lot of people that they're afraid to change the methodology that God's maybe trying to pull out of them. And because of that, they're wandering a kind of a proverbial desert, if you will. And that doesn't need to be the case. Again, I'm not advocating changing just for the sake of changing. I don't think that that's biblical either. But what I am advocating is listening to the Lord and asking him to show you how you need to do things. And not to bash people when they maybe do things a little bit different. If the goal is the same and they're not compromising the truth of Jesus Christ, there's no reason for us to bash other people. Why? Because we're working to one goal. And the people that you reach using one technique, well, maybe there's people that can't respond to it, but this person over here, man, they got a technique that is reaching people in a big way too. You guys are both accomplishing what God has for you in the way that God has presented it to you. My challenge and encouragement for you guys is simply this: listen to the Lord and be willing to maybe make a shift, make a change in your life that he's calling you to do for a greater purpose. Again, we're not bashing the way things used to be, but perhaps there's something new that God has for you that you've yet to walk in and you've been hesitant about it, and I understand. But take that step into something new and let God do something great in you and through you. It's now time for the question of the week. Now, Space Jam 2 wasn't originally supposed to be this. There's a lot of lost scripts out there for like a golfing Space Jam and all kinds of stuff. I think there's even a Tony Hawk one. So here's my question for you. Maybe you're not a fan of this Space Jam 2. What celebrity and what sport would you have loved to seen a Space Jam take place with? Leave a comment down below and let me know. Also, guys, I want to say this. Thank you so much for watching Geek Devotions. We're wrapping up season 5 here in just a couple of weeks, and we're going to be starting season 6, and we got some big plans coming down the pipeline. But this is all made possible because of you, devoted geeks, because you guys watch us. And I want you to understand our heart. We love you and we care about you. And if we can encourage you, we can pray with you, reach out to us. Reach us on any of our social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We would love to pray with you and encourage you. There are links in the description down below for that. We also want to give a special thank you to all our patrons who have been supporting us here at Geek Devotions on a monthly basis. Thanks to you guys, we've been able to get equipment. We were able to do certain things. Thanks to our patrons, we were able to secure a booth at Shreveport GeekCon coming up in August. And we are so thankful for you guys. GeekCon means a lot to Celeste and I because it's where we started. But thanks to you guys, we're not going just to the con. We're going to be on the con floor, able to encourage people and love people as they come by our booth and spend some time with them. So, devoted geeks, devoted Patreon geeks, thank you guys. And if you're in the Shreveport area, come hang out. Come to check out our booth and say hi and shake our hands. We want to encourage you. We want to pray with you, and we want to do life. And hey, we might have some extra cool things at our booth this year. Lastly, I want to encourage you guys to check our website, geekdevotions.com, where we have articles and reviews. We just put out a written article done by Michael Manacci, which I think will really encourage you guys and maybe challenge you to see things just a little bit differently. All that being said, stay devoted, peace, and love.